My father was a police officer. He was very strict. He actually was at Sparrows Point Police Department, which doesn't exist anymore. So growing up, Dad was it was real strict upbringing. So I think he kind of helped guide me into that. I wanted to go to college, but there was no money available. And I saw the Army as a way of, hey, I can volunteer and get money for college. I first joined the military, and that was back in 1983. I started at Fort Store, Georgia. I was with a mechanized infantry unit, and then from there they sent me to South Korea for a year. 86, that was my first tour overseas, non-combat, but long tour, 13 months. And then came back to the States, and I kind of moved around at that point. I also was a member of the Army Reserves out of Tipton Airfield at Fort Meade. Then from there, progressing, I took a break about a year or two. I was with the Edgewood Arsenal with the National Guard. And then from there, I was with the A-10s down at Martin State Airport. I went to school to be an A-10 crew chief. I served with them for 7 years. And that was my first 2 deployments I got to go on. I was with Operation Southern Watch, and that's where we were sent in to keep Saddam's forces from coming back in to reinvade Kuwait. And then preceding that one, I got to go Operation Enduring Freedom, and that was Bagram Air Base. I was with an expeditionary force. What that means is we were the ones that go in first to set up the area and to establish it. So when I got there, it was only a 1-mile perimeter. Mortar attacks, snipers were shooting at us as you're doing this. Real fun, fun stuff. Let's see, preceding that, after my 7 years with the Air Guard, I then, after coming back stateside, I decided to go back to the Army. So I went back to the Army National Guard. Then with the Army National Guard, I was with the Cavalry Unit. This unit was deployed to Operation Iraqi Freedom. I got to go to, I'm trying to think, Camp Cropper, Camp Stryker, and Camp Liberty, the 3. So I've got 3 combat tours under my belt. They wanted to send me in my 4th one, and that's when I was medically evaluated with traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress disorder by the VA. So at that point, I was trying to get 40 years of service in. I have combined service of 32, so I almost made it. But I was medically retired from the military. Recovery took about 8 years from the traumatic brain injuries and stuff. My injuries are very hidden. You can't, I look normal, I walk up to somebody, I can fool you, and that's good. Unless you live with me and know me, you don't see that I have problems with short-term memory. My long-term seems to be intact, but the short-term, I can be doing something, and then just, if it's something that doesn't take a lot of attention, I'll forget. I'll walk into a room and just be, why am I in here? Hasn't affected my driving, and I hope it never does. I'm still able to get around. My last combat tour was 2008. That was from Iraq, and that's when the doctors and the VA all started to diagnose me and tell me, because it's kind of weird. As protection, I always say I'm okay. I guess everyone, I don't want to admit that I have issues. But when you have 3 women and your wife in a room after they've done this extensive battery of tests on you, and they say, you have traumatic brain injury, post-traumatic stress, post-concussions, and all these things, and I'm like, so I'm okay. And they all look at me like I got a 3rd head. And my wife smacks me, you're not okay. Didn't you hear what they said? So the VA's been a big part of my life, and that's probably one of the reasons I'm so involved with helping them, giving back. I completed my time with the military. I was only 50. I was hoping to be able to serve to 55 or 60. And I was like, what am I going to do now? I'm like, I can't just sit home and watch TV, because with the post-traumatic stress, it's not good. It's not good for your mind or body just to sit and do nothing. So I found the Disabled American Veterans, great group. They helped me to get my claims filed and to help me get the money that from my injuries and everything, so that helps me and my family. And since I've been with the Disabled American Veterans, I started from just going into the meetings, and then got involved with the community. How can we raise money? We used to do fundraisers at Golden Corral. Started like $27,000 a year we'd raise there. And then we would take this money back to the Lock Raven VA clinic to distribute it to help them with purchasing anything from ice, water machines for the vets, wheelchairs, anything that they want, we try to help them with. They've got a greenhouse that's real nice for the veterans as well, where they can go in and grow their own plants and have their own little projects that they can do inside the greenhouse. But it's kind of self-healing for me too, to be able to help veterans and be around veterans, because we're kind of our own club and we only can understand, you know, where we've been and what we've been through. Since I've been with the Disabled American Veterans as well, I've been rising up the ranks. I started as a officer of the day, where that's simply just you escort guests into the different meetings that we have. And then from there, I went up, you go first, no, it goes fourth, third, second, and now I'm first junior vice. And in these positions, you have different responsibilities. Like this year, I'm responsible for putting together a benefits and information seminar, which I'll have on April 18th. And I'm going to have that at the Essex Elks Lodge. I'm hoping to go to attendance of 300. I have a committed speaker already. He's the Secretary of Veterans Affairs from Annapolis, George Owens. So he's agreed to be one of my guest speakers. We're going to have national service officers available to help the veterans, which is really great. And I've got a ton of different groups ranging from the Maryland Vet Center, VA administration, healthcare, benefits, and also the American Red Cross. So I have like 10 different groups, support groups, that'll be in-house as well. My whole life it's kind of weird. I've never felt that I was a leader, but I've always been seen to be pushed into positions. I worked for the Maryland Military Department for 15 years. That's where the combined service comes in. I did 17 and a half with the military before they retired me. And then the state of Maryland let me work for the Maryland Military Department as a technician. And I was the area manager for the Maryland Honor Guard. I was on one of the biggest events I did with them was the planning of William Donald Schaefer's funeral. That was a 3-day event. That was kind of cool. And one day we went to the State House, we went to City Hall, and St. Paul's Cathedral and Delaney Valley. In one day we did all the planning for that 3-day event. My job was to coordinate the state police so that they could arrive before the casket would each time to get our pallbearers present. But even with that, I rose through the ranks fast with them, because I started as a team leader, supervisor within 6 months, and an area manager within 3 years. And then I was able to stay with them for 15 before mandatory retirement was given to me by the VA, which I love that job. I think I had like completed it was like 600 color guard missions and 3,000 funerals that I performed before I was asked, hey, would you train people how to do this? So one of the nicest things is with that, after I retired, is General Singh made up this Maryland flag certificate for me for my service to the state. And I was also given the Distinguished Service Cross for my service to the state of Maryland. I ended up at the Vet Center to help me with post-traumatic stress disorder. And one-on-one, there's one of their workers there, his name's Patricia. She said, why don't you have a service dog? But for the last 5 years, there's Ian Steidel from the VA was also saying, why don't you get a service dog? This will help you. I had a stigmatism like, well, if I have a service dog, then everyone's going to know there's something up with you. Why do you need a dog? And to me, that's like, I guess it to me would take away my, I don't know, independence to say, but after I got Georgie, I found out that's not the case. I've been told by family and everything, my stress levels have gone down because I could be angry and not even know why. Severe migraines. I had, like 5 weeks where I'd be incapacitated. And this is part of the brain injury and the post-traumatic stress and TBI. And then the crazy thing too is my doctor said, we don't know how to treat you because we're not used to those two. It's the brain and it's very delicate. So I've been basically explained to me is I'm a high functioning traumatic brain injury from combat, and that my brain has learned how to reroute stuff. And if it weren't for that, I've seen the different levels of traumatic brain injury, and it's very scary because I've met one gentleman that he'd say, "Hi, my name's Bill," and 3 seconds later start over, and that's all. He couldn't get past that. So that's always been one of my fears too, is can this progress? But I think if I keep busy and doing what I'm doing, I think I can avoid that from happening to me as well. The story is she was born in New Mexico and then adopted in Colorado. Her original owner passed from brain cancer, and she ended up in a kill shelter at 3 years old. Amy McCullen from the American Humane Society happened to be in that area that day because they were going to shelters to rescue dogs to see which ones would qualify to be good service dogs. So I was fortunate. She found Georgie and took her to Bain, North Carolina, which is where their training center is. I didn't get to meet Georgie till like the second day I was there. They brought Georgie in and got to give her a hug, and it's when you first meet, it's just exciting. She was so receptive to me because you don't know how dogs are going to react. They got their own personality, so I didn't know. She's, hey, he's not going to like me. But we bonded real fast. I let her sleep up in the bed. I said, okay, they had a kennel cage that they wanted us to put on. I said, no, I'm going to let you sleep at the foot of the bed, and that way to help with the bonding. So I got over, I even told them one of my fears was, well, if I get a dog, then everyone's going to, Mark, what's your problem? So I've got over that. That was a help. And when they told me how Georgie's going to be able to help me, one of my conditions with post-concussion syndrome is I can fall. I don't have an equilibrium problem. It's a brain issue. My ear's been tested, everything, and I can randomly just fall down, sideways, backwards, forwards. It hasn't happened as much because this acts like a cane for me because it gives me a sense of stability. She can't catch me, but it's like I'm learning to use my core more if I've been feeling myself falling. Before I had her, I had a bad accident where I fell head first into a brick wall. Yeah, ruptured two of my discs and took almost a year to recover from that. So I haven't been falling as much, and the headaches have diminished, but I still get them occasionally. But overall, meeting her and family, and even I've realized she's been a big help to me.